name is Douglas Thompson, and I'm the moderator for this roundtable discussion. I hope you can see the slides on the screen. Olga, perhaps we could move to the next slide.
Sure, Douglas.
Excellent, thank you. So today we have a somewhat limited time for our roundtable discussion with a focus on local and regional policies to foster innovation for the sustainable agro-food sector. I am a member of the VIDA consortium. My name is Douglas Thompson, and I'm very much looking forward to moderating this session. As I said, time is somewhat limited. We have to use it wisely. It's often told to me, but it's wise not to listen to me too much. So please, could we go to the next slide? So just for very quickly to understand the next steps, we will be recording the session for internal purposes only. Please do, as you've been doing before, use the chat system to write down your questions and comments. Due to time, we might not be able to get them, but we will ensure that we get back to you in written answers. The VIDA recommendations are available on the VIDA website, and indeed, I believe, Olga, you will be giving the link. You'll be giving the link in the chat so that people can download the VIDA recommendations. Excellent. Next slide, please. So we have three panelists today. Let me introduce them briefly. The first one is Dario Schooner. He's a managing authority from the managing authority of ERDF in Lombardy in Italy, with a background in earth sciences, been involved in the regional government of Lombardy for many years, since 1996, involved with geological mapping, urban planning, tourism development investments, environmental assessments and permitting. He in fact has been in charge of the ERDF 2014 to 2020 managing authority since 2019, and indeed also responsible for an Interreg project, CIRC, which focus on developing a toolbox for mapping opportunities, identifying barriers, prioritizing policy options, and then with the idea of circular transition for distinct economic sectors. The second panelist we have is Enrique Navarro, who is Director of Research and Innovation from the Government of Aragon in Spain, background in biology, previously a tenured researcher at CSIC and the Peruvian Institute of Ecology. Also a researcher at the Swiss Federal Institute of Aquatic Science and Technology, and with research interests of ecotoxicology and aquatic ecology. And our third panelist today is Elizabeth Recker, who is an international project developer in water technology, circular economy and energy from the province of Friesland in the Netherlands. With a passion of international cooperation and sustainability, a background in European studies and master's degrees in business, cultures and languages. Indeed, and a background outside of Europe as well, including the time at the Ministry of Education in New Zealand, and well, being a British citizen myself outside of the EU as well, also with being involved in consultancy in the United Kingdom. So thank you very much. First of all, thank you very much for all three of you for your time today. Again, thank you for all the participants as well. We shall try to run this as interactive as possible, given the time limitations. But first of all, I'd first of all like to perhaps ask the first question to you, Enrique, and the question being, could you please briefly explain the process of revising the smart specialization strategies and how SMEs will be involved in developing these for the next period?
Thank you, Douglas. Do you hear me?
We hear you well.
Okay, so our regional specialization strategy was reviewed last year in March, and 27 public stakeholders participated in it, providing information about 88% of the actions proposed in our strategy. The main weakness detected during the review were the lack of detail of the indicators and the lack of correlation between the actions, their goals, and the actors to develop them, and the instruments chosen to achieve them. In fact, the general point was that actions were executed and promoted because the interest of certain stakeholders and not because a coordination process within the regional strategy. That analysis allow us to design the framework for our new specialization strategy that is actually under process of elaboration. So the framework for this new strategy is to take advantage of the dynamism of the stakeholders of our region, to establish coordination mechanisms allowing for the appropriation, monitoring, and efficient development of the strategy by all the actors under the umbrella of the specialization strategy, to promote applied research, to encourage the use of new funding instruments, overcoming the use of subsidies, grants, or agreements, and to step outside the comfort zone that has already had a positive impact on strengthening and enhancing those strategic topics during the past year. But I think that the most important addition is the creation of a governance system for the ES3 and in general for the research and development ecosystem in Aragon that would eventually allow for interaction with other strategies and public policies, avoiding overlapping and facilitating information fluxes between all the stakeholders. Regarding the participation of the small and medium enterprises, for us, this is an essential stakeholder to combine the research and innovation and to promote the transfer of knowledge and technology. Therefore, small and medium enterprises are crucial for development and implementation of the future ES3. So the actions planned to improve the role of the small medium enterprises during the elaboration and implementation of the new smart specialization strategy is first launching a survey of the entire economic sector, focusing on small and medium enterprises in order to know their situation, the challenges they are facing, and how S3 would respond to them. Second is the participation of the representatives of the small medium enterprises in different technical meetings during the elaboration of the S3 strategy. Also, we have included a list of personal interviews with a selection of CEOs and managers of big and medium industrial clusters and associations. And finally, we are going to incorporate representatives from this sector, small and medium enterprises, into the Aragonese system of research, development, and innovation governance system.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Enrique. A very interesting answer as well, with the very practical aspects of what has been implemented. That's very interesting indeed. Dario, maybe I could pass the same question to you.
Sure. Good afternoon to everybody. I cannot see myself, but it's a minor problem. Actually, Lombardy region already adopted the new S3. It did it in the late December, and the new strategy, which is also an enabling condition for the 21-27 programming period, meets essentially two challenges. To support industrial transformation towards digital transition and sustainable development, and to increase the resilience and adaptability of the regional system to the rapid changes of the socio-economic and productive systems. To do so, four actions are addressed. First of all, a reinforcement of the regional system of research and innovation. Second, support to the technological transfer. Third, support investment to foster digital transition and the adoption of sustainable development models. And fourth, to support the placing of SMEs on the foreign market and the attractiveness of the regional system for foreign investment. As I told you, this has already been achieved. As far as I know, Lombardy has been the first region in Italy to adopt the new S3 for the next programming period. But to do so, there has been a broad public consultation through a web platform called Open Innovation, which is something more than a simple web portal. It's rather the place where a community can be hosted and matchmaking activities can be carried out. Moreover, the construction of the consultation and its result were part of the action plan of another Interreg Europe project called S3CAM that was supported mainly by the Lombardian system of technological clusters, and in particular those involved in chemistry. That's all for the first question for me. Thanks.
No, thank you very much, Dario. And again, given the timing, thank you very much for focusing on the major points. I very much appreciate that. As we wanted to move through, perhaps I could move to the second question, which we would like to ask the panelists. And Elizabeth, maybe I could ask you to answer this first, of how will your region boost the Green Deal, the environmental and digital transitions of the agro-food sector? Elizabeth, maybe I could ask you to comment first.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. Well, what I think is important here is that we work a lot with clusters, and so we are an agricultural and water-rich region, and as such we're encountering some challenges, as other regions are as well. And in Friesland we work a lot with clusters. So we aim to increase innovation and sustainability in the region through these clusters. We have, for example, there's the water cluster, dairy, there's a high-tech systems materials clusters, and an energy cluster. And all of these play a role in the agro-food and clean tech ecosystems. The links between these clusters are strong, as well as they're all experts in their field. So they know how to reach their stakeholders, and they know what's happening. They know how to find potential solutions, connecting dots, and they also work with SMEs, large organizations, policymakers. So we encourage working with them very much. We actively work with them together, and we look to create further innovation, integration, and also opportunities for SMEs through the clusters. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you very much. Yes, a message which I think was being emphasised in the previous presentation before, and others, about how clusters can work together to boost regional activity and across different sectors. I think is indeed an excellent point. Maybe Enrique, I could come to you for comments on this question as well.
Okay, so the environment, the Green Deal, and the digitalization transition are cross-cutting key issues for our region. Accordingly, our government leads different initiatives. The first one is the circular economy strategy and its corresponding public agreement that was signed months ago by both public and private stakeholders. We have also leading a specialized training center that is nowadays a national reference center for circular economy in our region. There is also a working group working in establishing a white paper on digitalization and artificial intelligence in Aragon that will incorporate all the agri-food related issues. We have also a digital innovation hub that is also leading different initiatives related with the agro-food chain. And we have also the governance system that is these days starting working, that will foster the collaborations between the agro-food sector with all the digital regional platforms that are nowadays working. So Aragon aspires to a green, digital and social future accordingly in the next X3. The digitalization, that is artificial intelligence, the knowledge enabling technologies, and Industry 4.0 would be part of our strategic line, sure. So our region will continue with the promotion and the coordination of actions like innovation in agro-food chain of value, in the industry and small medium enterprises in the environmental areas. We are going also fostering the studies and the fight against climate change that will heavily impact the agricultural activities. We are also focusing on programs for fostering the cooperation in rural environments. And we are also fostering the knowledge transfer and innovation for rural environments in order to help to fix population on those regions. Finally, we're also taking the advantage of the participation in different smart specialization platforms where Aragon is present, like the Water Smart Territories, European Hydrogen Valleys, the Agro-Industry Traceability and Big Data in the Agri-Food Value Chain, and in the Enterprise of Europe Networks, or the Vanguard Initiative, or the European Association of Research and Technology Organizations. That's
excellent. Excellent. Thank you, Enrique. It always amazes me how much your region is doing in all the different types of support activities and programs, and under the different sectoral aspects as well. It's a very good example indeed, I think. Please just remind to people that, of course, if you have questions, then please put them into the chat, and we will endeavour to ensure that they're either answered straight away or at the end of the session. Maybe I could then move on to question 3, to the next slide. And Dario, perhaps I could ask you to comment first on this. Is Cascade funding an effective mechanism to support SMEs at the local and regional level? We would very much appreciate your comments, please.
Okay, actually, as an ERDF managing authority, I've had some results in Cascade funding with the ongoing 2014-2020 programming period. But there are other experiences deriving from the participation of Lombardy to the so-called Vanguard network that also Enrique referred to. And there are really different approaches, but they tell us something about the potential of the method. I think that Cascade funding is interesting as far as it can be better tailored for the needs of SMEs than centralized funding policies. I think that relying on local actors that can distribute locally the central funding can help to address more properly the funds. But there is a possible drawback that needs to be considered in the fact that through this indirect distribution mechanism, it can be more difficult to ensure that the funds are actually dedicated to a certain policy. Well, I mean, you can be more respondent to needs expressed by the local context, but it can be more difficult to address the funds towards a definite policy goal. This has been possible, in my opinion, better in the Vanguard initiative, but because in that case there was a thematic, a disciplinary network working all over Europe that shared a common culture, a common vision about the main challenges of advanced manufacturing, for example, and that should be the condition to ensure that Cascade fundings can be effective on both sides, ensuring an efficient absorption of the funds by the local actors and meet the policy goals. That's all on my side. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Dario. I absolutely agree. Of course, we all know very well the Vanguard initiative, but the points you're making about what is required on all sides to make Cascade funding most effective, I think is very useful information indeed. Elizabeth, maybe I could pass finally to you on this question for some comments.
Sure. Well, I agree with quite a few of the bits that Dario mentioned, and I think he made an interesting challenge there as well. We are fairly positive about Cascade funding as, in our opinion, it removes a certain barrier because of the local actors and often clusters involved. It's easier for stakeholders or SMEs to get involved. They may already know people, or they may already know the organization. working with the funding. I think Dario is very right that it's easier to tailor. It means that there might be different variations possible for different target groups of stakeholders, which the funding is aimed at. I think we've noticed high engagement and high interest, which is obviously something that we like to see. So in general, we're quite positive about Cascade funding. And in general, I think we've heard that the route to market is sometimes a bit easier, which is something that we like to see as well. So generally quite positive. Thank you.
Yes, again, I agree. This sort of extra targeting and extra knowledge from implementing Cascade funding, I think, can really help identify projects which, as you say, are closer to market and have a real chance of success. Thank you very much for your discussions and answers and comments so far. We do have a question from Marisa, and maybe I could put that to you and ask whichever the panelists would like to answer first to volunteer. The question is, how do you think that cross-border collaboration supports the development of smart specialization strategies? So how do you think that cross-border collaboration supports the development of S3 of smart specialization strategies? Enrique, yes, please go ahead.
Yes, very short. The first is to promoting internationalization is one of the best stimulus that you can provide your small medium enterprises to improve their transfer. And also there is a second very important point that is that internationalization is one of the best ways to gain critical mass to be able to participate in bigger EU calls.
Can I add just a few words on that?
Yes,
because as a confining region, Lombardy shares many cross-border programs with Switzerland, for example, even outside the EU, but quite interesting as well. And I think that it is almost natural that a cross-border project like the Interreg Italy-Switzerland, which is supported by the ERDF, has lines of intervention not only for the cultural heritage or the local development, but even for innovation of small and medium enterprises, which is even more interesting and challenging in the mountain areas in our experience, relative to the metropolitan areas.
Absolutely. Right. Elizabeth, any comments on?
Well, I think I very much agree with the other two speakers, and I think international cooperation helps a little bit getting maybe out of tunnel vision. There might be regions struggling with similar problems or challenges as your region, and it helps getting out of tunnel vision. And I really like what was said before, that it challenges a bit. I've heard from stakeholders that international cooperation means that they might work a little bit harder because they can't just show up and tell them, oh, we've got nothing. So there's a certain pressure to show what you've been doing.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And from a personal point of view, from my involvement over time with the Smart Specialization Platform for Industrial Modernization, and currently with the European Cluster Collaboration platform, I certainly support all the points that were made by the panelists in regard to this cross-border internationalization aspect. I'm afraid that we're going to have to close this session now, so as we've run out of time. Thank you very much indeed to our three panelists, to Enrique, to Elizabeth, and to Dario. Really appreciate your informative answers, your comments, and also your ability to keep it within a timetable, so that we can move on with the rest of the day and the next steps. So thank you very much indeed. I very much appreciate all the comments. As we've said, of course, I'm sure we're all contactable in the future. We're all contactable in the future. If there's any other questions that arise, and of course I can make sure and moderate all of those aspects.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to all, and I will now pass on to the on to the next session, if that's okay. Francisca, you're muted at the moment.
Yes, now I should be unmuted.
Thank you.
Yes, so well, it has been a long afternoon, not a long day, but a long afternoon. I think we ran out of time. I think it was very interesting, though, to see everything that we have been doing from the first part of the session where we received some acknowledgement of Milena, the overview of Jeroen, also from the side of the partners from Norbert and Elena. I think it was very nice to have this deep overview of what VIDA was or has been in these 3 years. Maybe, Tim, if it's possible to put the outlook of that Blanca made with the drawings would be very nice. Yeah, so this is one of the slides that Blanca has been doing during the whole afternoon. I think it's a very good job, and I think it really summarizes very nicely what has been said in the first session. I would just like to highlight the points that the panelists in the first session were mentioning or highlighting. So VIDA supported more than 100 SMEs. I think this is already an achievement, but I think the collaborations that we have gathered are proven to be good with all the beautiful pitches that we had today, showing what we have actually aimed. We have brought actually technologies to the market. Technologies could be proven inside, and I think that is something that we can be very proud of. I think how Milena was stating, empowering SMEs is a very strong sentence that it's very valuable, I think, for this type of cascade fundings, that you give the SMEs the possibility to access to some funds to actually implement technologies that could not have been implemented otherwise. I think that's very, very valuable in this sense, and this shows then what we are aiming for the future. So in the future, we will hope that we can gather more of this type of projects. We can continue this collaboration. We are boosting and launching tomorrow. My colleague James and Olga will showcase the alumni club, where we are aiming to continue with the network that we have gathered. I think it's a very valuable network, and I think this is one of the most highlights of the Cascade funding is collaboration and cross-border collaboration, international collaboration between not only clusters, between SMEs and other stakeholders. And so I think the good collaboration, the good communication between us and the partners have been one of the most important assets in in the results of this project. Maybe James, you want to say other few words about this day?
No, Francisco, I think you summarized it nicely. Some very nice presentations, really interesting results. So I think a good message for the Commission that there's money well spent on these different projects. So it's been really good. That's an important message from us to the Commission. So yeah.
And for all the SMEs that have been participating during the pitches, just they know that they have been also, Blanca also made drawings from their pitches, and they will be probably put online either in the B2 Match website, collaboration website that we have been using for this event, and also I think on the website. So it will be soon available for everybody to see the summaries and the drawings from the pitches, which in my opinion look very beautiful and very
that's right,
nicely summarized.
These should be printed out full size and stuck up in the office in Leywood. Very nice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, well, I think that's for today. I'm very sorry for the half an hour delay that we had, but we hope that tomorrow we will keep more in strict to the time. But well, hope to see you all tomorrow, and let's continue the innovation. Bye bye.
Yep. Bye for now.